Hi everyone. Sorry for being a few minutes late. We will go ahead and get started. So today's webinar, I am going to be talking about preparing for the assessments that your students will be taking before they leave on the holiday break, as well as maybe projects that they're working on. My name is Dana Luther, and I am a product manager here at TenMarks. I was a high school math teacher and have been working in math software ever since I left the classroom. So I'm excited to be here with you today. And we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I want to talk through is just throughout the webinar, I'll actually be talking you through where this is in the product. So if you do have your computer in front of you or a different monitor and you want to log into TenMarks and follow along, I think that'd be a great idea. So the first thing is that for all of you, when you log in, there's always this interstitial that on the left-hand side is our product that's called TenMarks Math Teach. And today we'll be focusing on TenMarks Math and how TenMarks Math can help you reinforce learning with your students to prepare for these end of year exams or projects. So if you go ahead and click into the right-hand side where it says create assignments, which is going to get you into TenMarks Math, the first place that I really think is important to go to look at how students have been doing over the course of the year is the performance on class assignments report. So where this is going to be located is if you click on the reports, this is the first report that's going to come up, and that will be true for both our free and premium customers. And every one of the columns on this report is an assignment that you've given to your students. And so I'd recommend that you go in here and you choose, make the date range be like the entire year, or if you're really just focusing on maybe the last month, month and a half, go ahead and set that date range, and then you'll have a really great understanding of how your students are doing. And so if you're looking to put students into either small groups to do some remediation on different standards, or if you're looking at which topics you need to reteach to your entire class, if you go ahead and you can sort by the average score for the students, as you see on the left-hand side, or you can actually filter. So if you're looking to do small groups of students and you were looking for any student that had scores in kind of the red range in our product, which is under 60%, you could filter for that, and then you'd be able to really target how students are doing in those individual areas. And I think that also looking at the assignment details, which is where we're going to go to next. So at the top of each of these columns where you have the blue text, those are actually clickable. And so you can go ahead and click in to the assignment and you get the assignment details page. And for both free and premium, once you're on the assignment details page, in the middle, you can see the top 3 common mistakes. So for premium users, if you click on the little person icon there, you can see which students were making that mistake. And that's a really quick and easy way to grab that group that you might want to form as students are doing math stations, or if you have them doing something else. So you can sit with them and reteach them and have a really targeted lesson on something that they've demonstrated that they have a misunderstanding on it within TenMarks. And then if this were something that many of your students, had made a mistake, then you might want to think about redoing, reteaching that lesson so that you can focus on that area for the exam that you're going to give them. The other thing that I would recommend is if you are looking at the question types, and if you have already given one of the assignments in a specific track, then I would suggest going into the question types and taking a look at the various, they're anywhere from 3 to 5, and where you're going to find the question type choosing is when you're creating an assignment. And I would go in and say, and think about what questions you really want to focus on with your students. So if there's something that you know that they're struggling with, maybe you want to give them an assignment that only has that question type so that they're going to get that remediation in that practice. And you could create a 5-question assignment with just a specific question type, or a 10-question assignment with 1 or 2. And it's a great reinforcement of a very targeted learning for your students. The other thing that you can do with these question types is you could pull this up and actually do modeling of these questions with your students, which I think is a great practice that we see in our schools that are using TenMarks. And if you just project this up on the board and talk through it and do the modeling that you would do normally in your classroom, but it really helps students build confidence in using TenMarks as well, which I think is another great way to use the product. The other thing is about reassigning work. So if you have been on the class performance on assignments, which we saw before, if you go into the assignment details, you can reassign the assignment to either your entire class or to just a subset of students. So if you've noticed that your entire class didn't do well on this specific track and you want to make sure that they get it again, instead of having to go in and create the assignment from scratch on the advanced assignment page, you can easily go to the assignment details, and on the little drop down to the right with the 3 dots, you can click reassign, and every single one of your students will get that assignment again. The other thing that you can do is if you scroll down to the bottom, which I don't have a screenshot of right here, but if you scroll down to the bottom of the assignment details page, then you'll have a list of your students at the bottom, and you can actually select a subset of your students to reassign that assignment. And the scores are going to be right to the right of their names. And so if you have, every student that gets under a 70, you want to make sure that they are going to have this track and this topic again. You could just assign them to those students. The other thing that I would really encourage you to reinforce with your students as they're continuing to use TenMarks, especially when they're in review mode or relearning topics mode, is to use the hints and videos. When we go into classrooms, we see that a lot of students don't really watch the videos, and I do think that they provide a great support platform for students as they're going through the questions. But what we find is that a lot of times students want to get through the work more quickly, and so they don't take a step back and slow down and really take the time to watch those videos. And even a good strategy is for them to take notes on the videos as they're watching them in their math journals or math notebooks that you would have them take notes in generally during the day. And then the other thing are the hints. And the hints are mostly written in a Socratic method. So it's guiding the students towards the answer without ever giving them the answer. And if you know that your students aren't using them, I'd recommend that you reinforce this as a support system that they have, but also a great way for them to really try to get to that answer and maybe not need to ask you for help or need to ask one of their math partners for help, and that they can actually get to it themselves. So if you have already reinforced that students should be using the hints and videos, I would talk to them again and just make sure that as they go through new assignments or reassigned assignments, that they're using all the supports that they have available to them. The other piece that we see that students are not necessarily using as much as I think that they could, which is the explanations with the immediate feedback. So particularly when a student is getting a question incorrect and they hit submit answer and they're shown that they got it incorrect, one of the explanations are actually shown to them. So I think it's a really great strategy for students to scroll down the screen and read through the explanation. And something that I think is even more beneficial is having the students write down the problem and actually rework the problem when they have the explanation in front of them, because this is going to get at what the reason we move to immediate feedback, which is that students are understanding the mistakes that they're making in that moment, which actually then allows them to apply that learning to questions further along in the assignment. So if you haven't had students having out their journals or math notebooks and actually trying to go through the question again, I think that this is a great opportunity for you to reinforce that with students, that it is important to actually read through and understand why they got the questions incorrect, that they're getting incorrect. And then the other thing that they could do is actually use the hints and videos after they've gotten a question incorrect, because particularly in our assignments, if you haven't chosen question types, students are going to see anywhere between 2 to 3 or 4 questions of the same question type. So if they are getting it incorrect, if they're understanding their mistake, then they're much more likely to get that same type of question correct later on in the assignment. So I think that that's another really great strategy and a good use of TenMarks in reinforcing not only what they're learning from a topics level, but also what are some great strategies for just in general with redoing problems and learning from mistakes. The last piece of TenMarks that I think can be really good for reinforcing topics and learning before our end of the year are the jam sessions. So both free and premium teachers have access to the list of jam sessions. And while you can't assign a jam session to a specific student, you can make choices around what jam sessions are going to be presented to your students. So if you know that students need to work on a specific skill. And for those of you that don't really know much about jam sessions, jam sessions or jam skills are really our fluency practice within TenMarks. And now there is the opportunity to actually see which jam skills are related to the tracks if you go to the curriculum page. So if you're looking at your navigation and you go to work and then you go to the curriculum page, there's a little eye icon that is down any of the tracks that are on your curriculum page. And if you click on that, then you can actually see which jam skills are going to be related to those tracks. And while it might take a couple of minutes to do that, I think that this is another great way of reinforcing and really getting at targeted skills that you want your students to work on so that they will be prepared for their end of year exams. And if you notice on the right-hand side of this screenshot, the minus and plus, so you can easily remove jam session skills if there are ones that either you don't think your students need, or if they're going into a certain skill and just doing it over and over and over, which we have seen in classrooms that we're in, you can remove that skill and they'll only see the ones that are presented to you on the list. And then for premium users, you can add as many skills outside of the grade level as you would like to. And for our free users, you can add up to 10 skills that are outside of the grade level of your class. The other thing that we just wanted to reinforce, so there are other more maybe fun ideas than just sitting down and doing assignments in TenMarks that your students might enjoy towards the end of the year. So one of the ideas is that you could project a TenMarks question. And like I said before, from the choosing question types, it's a really good place to go to be able to present the questions. And you could create groups and create kind of a competition out of it. So you could have groups sit down and work on a TenMarks question, and then have whichever group finishes first, and then you can have them have to present to the rest of the class. And you can do that a couple of times for questions that are within a track. You could also have it just be think pair share work, where you project a question, or you could even just print out TenMarks questions and have them work on those as more of deep performance tasks and having to talk to each other and explain their work to one another. The other more fun way, if you don't already do this in your classroom, is to create rotating stations, and you could have TenMarks either be a part of one of those stations, or you could also have each of those stations be focused on a different math topic that you are trying to review for. And you could, once again, print out TenMarks questions that would be at those stations, or you could just have TenMarks up at all of them and tell students that they should be working on this specific concept at one station and this other concept at another. And then the third bullet point that we see oftentimes in classrooms is that teachers really create some excitement around TenMarks. So doing X number of assignments, or getting this many jam session questions right in a row, they'll have walls of fame around TenMarks and really reinforce students' learning with some excitement and celebration around how they are doing in TenMarks. So if you have any questions for us, or if you have any comments or ideas about how we can make TenMarks better, please, by all means, email us at support@tenmarks.com. And also, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We have some really cool math mindset talks every Thursday at 4 p.m. And those are really fun. We highly recommend getting on there, and you can connect with other teachers who are using TenMarks and hear their ideas, as well as some of our employees here. And also our Facebook page, we have some updates that go up on there around ideas on how to use TenMarks like we talked about today. And it's also a great place to connect with other teachers. So I'm going to go ahead and now go through the questions that have been sent in. Okay, so the first question was, is TenMarks for teachers only? I don't know if you're asking if it is used for administrators or other people. If your district or school has the premium product, then there's an administrator account that comes along with it. But otherwise, it's like teachers and students for the free version. The second question was, is choosing the question types available for all users, or is it just free or premium? So choosing question types is going to be just a premium feature. Okay, so then the other question was about that when the explanation is given, that when a student gives the correct answer, but the question is around TenMarks marking them wrong. So I would suggest sending it in to support@tenmarks.com, because that also goes to our escalation team, so we can actually investigate why that's happening. And it might be, there are different reasons why it might be happening. So we want to make sure that we figure out the correct reason. And if that is happening for your students, that we get that cleared up as quickly as possible. So if you could just email that in, and it's always helpful if you send in the information, so the student account and the exact question where that's happened. Okay. And then the last question is, will the TenMarks student app be available on the new Kindle Fires? And I don't know the answer to that right now, but we only are on tablets that are 7 inches and above. And so I don't know what the screen size is of the Kindle Fire.
But he's talking about, they are on $49.95.
Okay. Yeah. Are there any other questions?
Scroll down.
Oh.
There more.
Sorry. Okay. Is reassigning only for premium? No, reassigning is not only for premium. Everybody can reassign assignments.
Yes.
Sorry.
From Fran.
Okay. There is an iPad app, yes, and we definitely recommend that you do use the app, because the experience on mobile browsers, we don't test on them for the student side, and it's not going to be optimized. So if you are on any tablet device that is 7 inches or higher, we recommend using the app and not using the mobile browser.
49.
Okay, so Kenny, back to that they are 7-inch. I will follow up.
It's that price one.
Oh, okay. So my coworker just told me that you can use it on the ones that are the $50 or the $49.95. But the bigger screen is better.
Yeah.
So Amy, if you could write in a little bit, you asked, will there be more data? I don't know exactly what you mean. So if you could write in a little more explanation, that would help me be able to answer your question. Yes, we will be posting the webinar up on the Facebook page.
We'll do Facebook,
or both.
Facebook, YouTube, and we'll email them the link.
Okay, and we'll also email it. No, so the reassign you can do it individually. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the assignment details page, there are these little check boxes that are next to each student name. And if you check which students you would like to reassign to, then there's an action button right above that, and you can reassign to just those students.
How do you become
how do you become a premium member? So we generally are selling to districts or schools, and we don't sell to individual teachers. So if you write into support@tenmarks.com, we can put you in touch with one of our salespeople that makes sense for your district. So some of the differences, just so you know that what you can do in free and premium are in the free version, you get access to all the content for a grade level, and you're able to create the assignments. Your students are able to complete them. You have access to the jam sessions, but the real differences between premium or that you get in the premium product are that we have assessments in the premium version, as well as something that we call personal work, which are recommendations based on how students do on assignments and assessments that are then populated, so that those are either to fill in the gaps where students don't understand the content, or to give them some challenge work if they did really well on the assignments and the assessments. And then the third piece are the targeted interventions, which are, we call them amplifiers, but when a student does not do as well as expected on an assignment, then they'll get an amplifier, which is a conceptual walkthrough of the topic. And so if you're interested in hearing more about premium, go ahead and send in an email and we can put you in touch with our sales team. Okay. So I think from a data standpoint, I feel like we have a fair amount of the data that's provided even for users is based off of both the tracks and the standards. Mm-hmm. So I think that you could do a pretty good job. You could export that data and even share that with your district to show them how students are doing by each standard, and have a discussion around even correlating that data to whatever other sort of assessments you use during the year. But I do think that there's a fair amount of data that's tied to standards that is usable in TenMarks to be able to be data driven and create small groups and create your own targeted interventions for students that aren't doing as well, and really focus on differentiation. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think, yeah, that's all the time.
Okay.
And then maybe just put the last slide so they can see.
Okay. And yeah, so we have a few more questions. I'm just going to answer one more question, and then we'll post the webinar afterwards. So if you reassign an assignment, does it replace the first time a student did it, or is it a new assignment? It is created as a new assignment, but on most of our reporting, we display the latest score. So you'll see so if your student doesn't matter if they do better or worse on that reassigned assignment, you'll see the score from that reassigned assignment. Okay, thank you all so much for joining us. Please let us know, what you thought of the webinar, if it was helpful, and we will talk to you soon.